For decades, democracy was presented as the political future of Africa. Multi-party elections, civilian government, and constitutions, democratic transition. The expectation was simple. As democracy expanded, stability and prosperity would follow. But across parts of Africa today, something uncomfortable is happening. A growing number of young people are beginning to question whether democracy, at least in its current form, has actually improved their lives. And few figures symbolize that frustration more than Ibrahim Traoré, the president and military ruler of Burkina Faso. So why are some Africans beginning to lose faith in democracy? And what does Ibrahim Traoré's popularity reveal about the deeper political mood across parts of the continent? In the early 90s and 2000, many African countries transitioned towards multi-party democratic systems. Military government declined in several regions. Elections became more common. International institutions strongly supported democratic reforms. For citizens, democracy represented hope, greater accountability, economic opportunity, and political participation. But over time, reality became more complicated. In some countries, election continued, yet many people felt daily life changed very little. Corruption remained, youth unemployment stayed high, infrastructural problems persisted, and insecurity worsened in several regions. For younger generations especially, frustration slowly began to grow. This frustration is not only political, it is also economical and psychological. Across parts of Africa, millions of young people face unemployment, rising living costs, weak public services, and limited opportunities. At the same time, social media has exposed people to lifestyles and expectations from around the world. That creates a dangerous combination: higher expectations but limited opportunities. And when democratic governments fail to deliver visible improvements over long periods of time, some citizens begin asking difficult questions. Not necessarily, do we want dictatorship, but rather, why does the system still feel broken after all these years? That distinction matters a lot. In 2022, during a period of insecurity and political instability in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré became the country's military leader, throwing a military takeover. At first glance, he looked like another young military officer rising during crisis, but something different happened. His image spread rapidly on social media. Supporters praised his rhetoric around sovereignty, independence, self-reliance, and resistance to foreign influence. And then came one of the most controversial aspects of his message: the suggestion that Africa should blindly stop idealizing democracy if it fails to improve people's lives. That statement was met with strong reaction. To supporters, it sounded honest, but to critics, it sounded dangerous. But regardless of perspective, it touched nerves because many people were already questioning whether elections alone can automatically produce development or security. Center of this debate is something deeper than politics. It is trust. In many countries, citizens still vote, institutions still exist, constitutions remain in place, but public trust has weakened. And once trust declines, democracy itself begins to feel less convincing emotionally. This is important because people rarely abandon belief in a system overnight. Usually, disappointment builds gradually, promises repeated, problem unresolved, frustration accumulating year after year. By the time political anger becomes visible, the emotional shift has often happening quietly for a long time. And this is why figures like Dore resonate beyond their own countries. They tap into frustrations that already exist. The debate around democracy is not limited to Burkina Faso alone. Across parts of the Sahel and wider Africa, conversations are changing. Many young people increasingly ask, why do resource-rich countries remain poor? Why do elections happen but insecurity continues? Why do leaders change? Why systems remain weak? And because traditional political language often feels repetitive, leaders who challenge the status quo attract attention quickly, especially online. Social media amplifies emotionally powerful narratives. A reader speaking about sovereignty and rejecting old political formulas can become symbolic very fast. But symbolism is not the same thing as governance, and that is where the story becomes more complicated. Frustration with democracy does not automatically mean authoritarian alternatives will succeed. History in Africa and elsewhere shows that rejecting democratic institutions can also create serious dangers, such as concentration of power, reduced accountability, political repression, and instability over time. This is why the debate is so sensitive, because the real issue might not be democracy itself. The deeper issue may be weak institutions, corruption, economic inequality, insecurity, and bad governance. In other words, many citizens are not necessarily rejecting democracy, they are rejecting disappointment, and that distinction changes the entire conversation. The rise of figures like Ibrahim Traoré is attracting international attention because it signals a broader political shift happening across parts of Africa. Global powers are watching carefully because the Sahel remains strategically important. Instability affects regional security. Geopolitical influence in Africa is changing. At the same time, many observers recognize that younger generation across Africa are becoming politically restless. And when large populations begin to lose faith in existing system, the consequences can reshape politics for years to come. In conclusion, the popularity of Ibrahim Traoré is about more than one leader alone. It reflects a deeper political and emotional shift happening across parts of Africa. A growing number of people are no longer satisfied with political promises alone. They want security, opportunity, dignity, and visible progress. Whether democracy in Africa evolves successfully may depend less on the elections themselves and more on whether institutions can genuinely improve everyday lives. Because in the end, systems survive not only through laws and constitutions, but through the public belief that they actually work. Thank you for watching today's video. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.